And welcome back to another episode of the Bleav Georgia Tech podcast. We are your co-hosts. That is RJ Schafer. I'm Jackson Caudell, coming to you on Friday, July 12th. We're still inching closer towards football season, but the big thing we're going to talk about today is we're inching close to video game football season. For the first time in over a decade, I'm sure everybody, unless you live under a rock, you've heard at this point that EA Sports is releasing a new college football video game. It's been talked about. Man, like I remember still being in school when it was announced that, hey, we're getting a college football video game back, and then there was like nothing for like a year, and then we've had things just kind of slowly trickle out over the past few years. But I mean, I don't know about you, RJ, but I'm excited.
Bro, I am so excited to play this game. I don't know if you understand like how long. Well, you do. It's been a long time.
Well, what I was going to say is there's me and you have a little bit of an age difference. So it's, I grew up, playing the game. My first one was NCAA 2004, and it had Carson Palmer on the front of it. And, it was for the 2003 season. Like my all-time favorite, I know NCAA 14, the last one that came out, that one was great. I always kind of had an affection for NCAA 06. Had Desmond Howard on the front of it, and you had a road to the Heisman type thing where you did you were in high school and you did these drills and you had coaches watching. It was kind of I don't know, looking back on it, I guess it's kind of lame, but that was kind of cool at the time. And then, it's basically like Road to Glory before Road to Glory. It just wasn't in depth. I've always had a soft spot for that one, but we're getting a new game next week. It's even if you don't care about college football, this ropes in a lot of people. So we just wanted to take time today a little bit to kind of discuss, Georgia Tech and the game, because truth be told, we really don't know much about Georgia Tech in the game. There hasn't been a lot of info released about Tech in the game. The only things that we know are from a couple of screen grabs and things like that. We do know the Ramblin' Wreck is in the game. We do know that Buzz is in the game. We got a glimpse of Bobby Dodd at nighttime, and it looked really good. But we just kind of wanted to take time today because I'm sure, as most of you saw, the top 100 players ratings were released the other day, and no Georgia Tech player was released in it. And look, I'm not going to sit here and try to generate an outrage machine here about a video game. That's not what we're going to do. But I do find it just a little bit okay, at the top 100 players, Haynes King is not one of the 100 best college football players in the country. Jamal Haynes is not one of the 100 best football players in the country. Eric Singleton is not one of the 100 best football players in the country. Are we really doing that? I'm just saying. One of the gripes I did have about it was, and again, I think he'll be a good player, was Oscar Delp being in the top 100. Jordan, he's not hardly ever played. I think his career high for a receiving game up to this point, and I know he was playing behind Brock Bowers, I know, but I think he has 50 yards or something like that. He's not really done much. And him being included in the top 100 over somebody that led the ACC in touchdowns and Haynes King, had an 1,000-yard rushing season and was an all-ACC player, Jamal Haynes, and then had close to 1,000 yards receiving as a true freshman. That seems a little weird to me. I don't know what you thought about all of that.
Yeah, and it was weird too because he wasn't even at the very, very bottom of the list.
That's the thing.
He was a top 5 tight end. That's ridiculous to think about.
And here's the thing. By the end of the season, he very well might be there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not going to. He's clearly talented. I just think I think there is a little bit of brand bias there if we're just going to be real. Come on. That's I thought that was just kind of ridiculous. I was a little surprised that as good as he is, that Will Johnson was the number 1 player in the game. That kind of surprised me a little bit. But again, it's video game ratings. I'm not going to sit here and cry a river over it, but I did find it just kind of amusing that there were some players I think that haven't really played much or have not shown much, and they were included in the top 100. And I think it was just, if he plays for this school, he must be good. So I don't know. That just kind of ticked me off a little bit. But I guess we wanted to just take time to kind of, again, talk about Tech in the game this upcoming weekend because, like I said, there just hasn't been much. We saw when they were talking about traditions and things like that, you had the Ramblin' Wreck come out. We saw that. It was nice that was confirmed to be in the game. It looked good. I know some people had some issue with the band uniform colors being wrong, something like that, and that was true. But I do think the game is going to receive updates as we go along. So I think anything that they might screw up a little bit, or not screw up, but mess up a little bit, like I think there's going to be opportunities to fix it. But I guess let's kind of just start with the offense. Like, again, we don't know any player ratings, so I guess where do you think a lot of these guys are going to be ranked? Because I do think this is an interesting discussion to have, because me, you, and Najee talked about, for whatever reason, Tech wasn't included among the top 25 offenses in the country, despite leading the ACC in rushing, having one of the best offense. Like, there wasn't a position group really that Tech had that, you couldn't really name a good player in. And we just thought, like, not one of the 25 best offenses, but NC State is. Clemson's a top offense in the country. Yeah, not in like 6 years. So where do you think some of these guys are going to come in ratings wise?
I'm not sure, honestly, because I thought, I was almost certain that we were going to have a top 25 offense. I think the offensive line is going to be rated really high because I think they have started garner national coverage. But I'm going to kind of go in and say if the offense wasn't top 25, maybe some of the players that we think are higher rated are maybe lower rated according to EA Sports. I mean, especially rooms like the wide receiver room that are super deep, but you have guys, like Leo Blackburn that haven't played a ton, and maybe he gets a lot lower rating than we think, and maybe that's why the overall rating of the offense is lower. So, I think the offensive line will be high 80s, but I look at, some of your top receivers being in the low to mid 80s.
True or false? Haynes King will be the top rated player on the offense.
I want to say true. I think Jamal Haynes is going to be the highest rated player.
So I would initially agree with you because, like, again, we're on the Jamal Haynes hype train for the year. Like, we're captain. This is your conductor and your co-conductor over there, or whichever one. Maybe I'm the co-conductor, but like, I just feel like with a lot of teams, like the default is just going to be rate the quarterback the highest. Like, that's why I would say true for Haynes King. Like, I just think that's the default answer. And I'll just tell you, in the updates, at least from what I over, something like in these updates, like he's somebody like I think his rating will go up. But like, I feel like Haynes King, like, and this is not what I would have him rated. This is just based off like the little we know, because they don't have a top 100 player. Their offense isn't among the top 25 rated in the game, so they're probably going to come in lower rated than you think. I'm guessing he's an 82 or an 83 probably. Like, that sound like, I think him and Jamal Haynes, I'm guessing no receiver cracked an 80 probably. Yeah. Which, again, sure. The offensive line, I could see maybe Joe Fusile and Weston Franklin being above an 80, like in that low 80 range, but I don't think you're going to get anybody above an 85. It's going to be a discussion point, especially when the game comes out on Tuesday. I think the early access is next Tuesday. I think the game officially releases for everyone. If you didn't buy the early access or the what's it called, the deluxe editions or whatever the heck for it, like, it comes out next Friday, so you might have to wait a little bit. Defensively, I'll just go ahead and tell you, it's probably not going to look good. It's just probably not. Look, I think Tech has talented players on the defense are going to benefit a ton from a new coaching staff. That's probably not how the video game is going to look at it. Like, I'm interested to see where a guy like Zeke comes in. Like, he was an all ACC honorable mention at defensive tackle last year, even for how bad the Yellow Jackets defense was last year. Kind of interested to see where Kyle Eford comes in. Because if you do play with Tech online and you're using some linebackers or DBs, he's probably going to be your guy. Guys like Miles Brooks, Clayton Powell-Lee, I'm kind of interested to see where they come in at. But I'm just kind of like bracing myself that the defense is probably not going to look great.
Yeah, and I'm not the defense is a thing or a place where I'm not really sure on who's going to be the highest rated because there's a lot of guys that I think could vie for that option, but I also think there's not a ton of guys who have had a ton of national attention, which it seems like that's how EA puts their rankings. Like it's whoever has the most NIL money is the highest rated player overall wise. Um, so I don't know. I kind of want to see Kyle Leifert as the highest rated player because he's been really solid and he's made a name for himself. Like before the start of last season, he kind of was. It kind of felt like he came out of nowhere because before last season, he kind of was in nowhere and turned into one of the best defensive players for Georgia Tech. But I think the defense overall might look rough.
Yep. I mean, some other things I'm looking forward to is like Thursday night games in Bobby Dodd. I've always thought were kind of special, especially when they played Virginia Tech. When they had some of those big games. I've always liked Thursday night games at Bobby Dodd. I'm kind of eager for that. Like I thought the screenshot of the nighttime game at Bobby Dodd looked really good. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I'm also kind of interested, to see how Buster Faulkner's playbook looks in there. Like how they have it, the different formations and different things you can do. Because obviously, like they did a lot of different things last year, and obviously a more pro style kind of system. So I'm definitely eager to that. Has there been anything about uniforms? Like how many uniform combinations there could be? I mean, I haven't seen anything about that. Have you?
I don't think so, but I can't wait for some old head to load up the game and get a Georgia Tech triple option and find out that is not what we ran.
The problem is a lot of people are going to think that because unfortunately some people just don't pay enough attention and they think that that's what still goes on. I do know that that's probably going to happen. That is a funny point, actually. Yeah, because I know as far as uniforms go, like we haven't. Again, the only things we've seen is we've seen the Ramblin' Wreck come out. We've seen a quick screen grab of a nighttime game at Bobby Dodd, and that's basically all we know about Georgia Tech in the game. Like as far as like anything that's like confirmed or we've seen in like actual gameplay trailers or anything like uniforms and stuff, I don't believe we've seen unless I just completely missed it. Because I know yesterday when they were doing I think like the Road to Glory, the in-depth stuff about that, like they accidentally leaked Virginia Tech's uniforms. And then Virginia Tech was supposed to like release some new uniforms today, and then they leaked them a day early. So good job, EA. Which I guess honestly, if you're gonna get your uniforms leaked, like I guess that's the best way to do it when like a lot of people are watching. So like I mean, I guess it's not all bad, but I am kind of interested to see that, and then just like the different things you could do, like if Georgia Tech fans, if you're done with the ACC and you wanna do something else, like there's no grant of rights or media deals you got to get around in here. You just swap conferences wherever you want to go. You want to head back to the SEC, go ahead. If you want to take it to the Big 12, go ahead and go independent. Maybe try that. Like that would be kind of fun. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to just do a lot of different things. Like the main thing is like I think they've done a lot to put into this game. Like you've had a decade worth, and I don't know how long exactly maybe they've been working on this, but you've seen people talk about, like if they bring this back or, if this and if that. And I think you've been able to kind of follow that for like the past decade. And I really do think that they've put a lot of effort into doing this. Now, like there's some little things, like I kind of wish they had the ESPN scoreboard, below. Like it just kind of looks like a generic like EA thing. I think there was a reason for that or something. I kind of wish you had different broadcast teams across different networks. Like I know there are different broadcast teams on the game, but I think it's just ESPN. Like I don't think there's any like Fox Sports or CBS Sports or anything like that. Like that's something I kind of wish they would have, but that's just being extremely nitpicky, I guess. But any other thoughts really on the game or like what we're looking forward to? I mean, we just don't have much to go on as far as Georgia Tech's concerned because we just don't know. Like all we can really do is speculate and kind of talk about what we're looking forward to the most here.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is I think Georgia Tech is going to be like a fun team doing a rebuild, because your academic standard is going to be so high. And I wonder if that's incorporated into the game where, oh, you can't recruit X and Y kid because he's got a 1.7 GPA. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if that's going to be.
I don't know because like that. I just don't want to like put something out there that's not true. I feel like
Yeah.
I've heard like that, but I don't know. But
And I
I do
don't. That
feel like
wasn't in the
that.
game before, was it?
No, I don't think so. I know like there was some recruiting stuff. Like you had, if a kid really cared about academics, like it helped you in recruiting.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was you couldn't recruit certain kids because of this or whatever. Um, but again, I have no idea. But yeah, that would be kind of interesting to see that. Um, but yeah, I do think like low key Tech would be a fun team for a lot of people to play with. Like
Yeah.
again, unless you went to the school or you're a fan, if you log on and start like a dynasty with like Ohio State or somebody like that's not fun, man. Come on. Um, but yeah, looking forward to doing that. We're gonna have tons of content around the game next week over at All Yellow Jackets, and me and RJ are definitely gonna be talking about it when we meet up next week. Because like by this time next week, we'll know. Like we'll definitely have an idea. We'll we'll definitely be talking about it, but just super glad the game's back. Like it gives you something to do in the summer, and leading into next summer is you'll be able to play it. And look, we know we're getting a game next time, and I'm just kind of eager to see what they do going forward. I will say this, just one of my only fears, and I'm not trying to be negative here, is that they're going to go all out for this game right here because they know it's the first one we've had in over a decade. It's one of the most, I would say, it's the most highly anticipated sports game ever made. And I'm just saying anticipated. I don't know if it's going to be the best game ever made. And then I just wonder if there's going to be some slacking off here when we get into future games because it's, oh, you got your game back now, live with it. Because that's kind of what happened with Madden to an extent.
Yeah.
Is it's just the same game every year. Like there's nothing different. You have to pay for a lot of stuff, and it's just like I haven't bought a copy of Madden in a few years because of it. Like it just got old. And I don't think that's going to happen with this, but it is something I'm kind of just keeping in the back of my head for the future. I don't know about you.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope it's not how Madden has turned into, where it's like every game is a reskin of itself, and
And I'll
they
say
get.
this game is not a Madden reskin. Like this game
Oh
is
yeah.
like you hear it from everybody. Like this game is legit. I'm just talking about for the future. I just
Yeah.
wonder if some laziness sets in, like because I'm betting they're going to make so much money off the sales of this game, and then I just wonder how it looks in the future. Like that's going to be definitely something to keep an eye on. But who knows? Maybe my foreshadowing is wrong. Like I've been wrong before on a lot of things, so we'll see. Um, Anything else about the game you want to get off your chest?
Not really. I think it is. I think it is too in depth of a game though for it to get old that
I
quickly. So
agree.
even if it was the same game 2 years in a row, like it wouldn't be like Madden where there's not as much to do. Like I mean, recruiting is already so deep in itself.
Yeah, sure. Again, I don't think it's going to be like Madden, or I don't think it's going to
Yeah.
be like the problems Madden. Again, just something maybe to keep an eye on for the future. But that's going to do it for us today. We will be back next week. We're going to be talking more about the game, like I just said a couple minutes ago. We're going to be talking about the game next week. We're also going to be previewing ACC Media Days. They're coming up Georgia Tech's day is coming up Monday, July 22nd. I think it's them, Florida State, and I want to say correct. I might be wrong, but I feel like it's Syracuse because there's three schools that go that day. Obviously, Georgia Tech and Florida State are going to go first because they kick off a week earlier than everybody. Then you have to factor in the travel to Dublin. So like things are going to be picking up here pretty quickly. Like the dog days of summer are starting to wind down a little bit. We just had Big 12 media days. I know SEC media days I think are next week, and then like all the conferences are coming up, and then Georgia Tech will be on Monday, July 22nd, and I will be there providing coverage in Charlotte. Me and RJ are going to be talking about it. So be sure to like this video on YouTube if you're watching. Subscribe to the channel. That helps us a ton. We love making Georgia Tech content. We want to be able to continue to do so. So if y'all can do that, that would help us a ton. If you're listening on podcast form, give us a 1-star, 5-star rating. Let us know what we're doing wrong. Let us know if you think we're doing something good in the comments, and we greatly appreciate it. But anything else, RJ, before we get out of here?
That's
That's it. Okay. Well, I guess we will see you guys next week, and thank you for tuning in.